Let's talk about the Washington Commanders. 2024 will go down as one of, if not the craziest year in franchise history. They went from being 4-13 to being 12-5 within a span of just one season. In this video, we're going to cover everything the Washington Commanders did at the trade deadline, all the moves they made in the offseason. So from the NFL draft, the same with free agency, and why I believe the Washington Commanders are going to be a top team in the NFC for many years to come. Now, we have to start off with Jayden Daniels, a phenomenal quarterback last season. We all know why he won Offensive Rookie of the Year. When you hear the notion and you hear the term generational talent, that's what Jayden Daniels was last season. He comes over to a franchise that was completely terrible. Historically, the Washington Commanders / Redskins, they're not a good organization. That was with the previous owner and Dan Snyder. We'll see how they pan out with Josh Harris. They're already off to a hot start. But just a year before, this offensive line was rated as the worst pass blocking offensive line in all of football. Sam Howell was the most sacked and was the most pressured quarterback in the NFL. Jayden Daniels comes over. He's dealing with a lot of pressure. He's not getting sacked as much because of his ability to move around with his legs. When you look at the passing numbers, they're phenomenal. 25 passing touchdowns to 9 interceptions, 3,568 passing yards. But this is what helps separate Jayden Daniels from the rest of the field. He had 891 rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns. His ability to move outside the pocket, keep his eyes down the field, and throw wide receivers open at this stage of his career, we haven't seen anything like this in a very long time. And I know if you're a Commanders fan, you may go back and say, well, RG3 had a great rookie season. He did, but he didn't get the Redskins at that point in time to the NFC Championship game. Jayden Daniels did that in his rookie season, dealing with a lot of carryover from the previous regime. Usually when a team is historically bad the year before and they bring in a brand new coach and a brand new general manager, you don't see results like this unless you have generational talent in your quarterback. And that's what the Commanders have. Now, you know what you can get out of Jayden Daniels. He can be a perennial MVP contender every single year. You need to continue to put the right talent around him. He came over. You had brought in Austin Eckler in free agency a year ago. You had Brian Robinson Jr. The way that Cliff Kingsbury was able to go out there and basically create this offense and instill this offense in just 1 year to run this offense through Jayden Daniels with his legs, and the same with the running backs here. Austin Eckler is more so of a do-it-all running back, but he's not strong in terms of running in between the tackles. That's not a strong suit. That's why the Los Angeles Chargers moved on from him. Not a bad running back. He's more so of a scat back. He's going to go out there, catch the football at the backfield, run sideline to sideline with his speed. In between the tackles, you have Brian Robinson Jr. And one thing that really made me happy to see was the fact that Cliff Kingsbury was able to run a 2-back system. He did this at the college level. Now, when he was the head coach / main offensive play caller with the Arizona Cardinals, we didn't see much of this with Kyler Murray. He comes over. He has Austin Eckler on the field at the same time as Brian Robinson Jr. You may just look at it and say, you know what, that's a weird formation to have. But it spaces out the linebackers. You go against the Philadelphia Eagles matchups and the same against the Dallas Cowboys and against the Steelers. When he has both of those running backs in the backfield, it's motion plays on the back end. He's having Austin Eckler run around in the backfield. The linebackers, they're playing man coverage. They have to account for Austin Eckler for the simple fact he can catch the football at the backfield like he's a wide receiver. They can do an RPO play to Brian Robinson Jr. Now you have 2 wide receivers that could possibly be open. Terry McLaurin and the same with Austin Eckler underneath. It adds in that wrinkle. And they really need to run this 2-back system because of how bad the offensive line was last season. Just because Jayden Daniels did not get sacked as much as Sam Howell doesn't mean the offensive line was particularly good last season. It wasn't. This was still a weak offensive line. Jayden Daniels just uplifted all the talent around him by getting the football out quicker. Shout out to him, and the same with Cliff Kingsbury with a lot of predetermined reads. And the simple fact, Jayden Daniels, line of scrimmage adjustments before the plays were just phenomenal. He didn't play like a rookie last season. He looked like a 10-year vet going against the blitz. I remember one play in particular against the Cincinnati Bengals. They sent the dogs at him. It's an all-out blitz. He stands inside the pocket, steps up into his throw, deep down the field, touchdown. That's the dagger. And he did that on a road as a rookie quarterback. You can go back and listen to the videos. When I reviewed that game, at that point in time, I was sold on Jayden Daniels. It is hard to go out there in key situations and win games like that. He outplayed Joe Burrow in Joe Burrow's house. He went against the Steelers. They would have won that matchup if it wasn't for Johnny Newton going out there and jumping off sides. They would have got the football back. And he was just a couple inches away from getting the football to Zach Ertz for converting that first down. And those are all rookie mistakes. You could clean up on that in year number 2. So Jayden Daniels, he's going to be fine as long as they take care of him. That's why the first move I want to talk about is them bringing in Laramie Tunsil. Over the course of this offseason, they went to the Houston Texans. They said, you know what? What do you want for Laramie Tunsil? They wanted a second-round pick, and they wanted some more. They said, you can have it. You're bringing in one of the best left tackles in the game at pass protection. Laramie Tunsil is still a very good football player. The problem that he had with the Houston Texans, he was making a lot of money. And the Texans have allocated a lot of money to their defense, and they're gonna have to pay CJ sooner than later. When I look at the Washington Commanders, Jayden Daniels is on a rookie contract. You don't have to pay him anytime soon. You have a short window here. Jayden Daniels may get paid $55 to $60 million or even more when it's time for him to get a contract extension. And that's a video way later on in the future. We're talking about 4 or 5 years from now. But you go out there and you bring in some offensive line protection. Laramie Tunsil comes in immediately, and he's your best offensive lineman on paper. He's still a top pass protector. The contract was an issue. He's not a locker room cancer. He's a locker room leader with the Houston Texans. He did have a lot of penalties last season at the first half of the season, but in the back end of the season, he was Mr. Consistent. You're getting a consistent tackle in terms of going out there and protecting your quarterback. And run blocking, he's still good. But pass protection, that's where you want him at the most. And I can see a lot of deep shots with Jayden Daniels for this upcoming season. I have to realize something here. The fact that Jayden Daniels wasn't comfortable inside the pocket in the NFL playoffs, it was just a lot of short passes. They have some deep passes every now and then, but Jayden Daniels had to escape outside the pocket. By adding in a protector like this that can help protect him against pass rushes like the Philadelphia Eagles and the front seven that they have, the Dallas Cowboys with Micah Parsons and Dante Fowler. The same with the New York Giants adding in Abdul Carter. They have Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau. You need to improve this offensive line. So going out there and getting Laramie Tunsil, that's an A+ move in my opinion. And you did not give up a first-round pick. Instead, you use your first-round pick on another offensive line and Josh Connerly. Josh Connerly is a very good tackle from Oregon. Now, in my opinion, he's not ready to play right now. Andrew Wiley should still be the starting right tackle. Eventually, Josh Connerly will come in and hopefully he can be that star right tackle that you're looking for. When I look at him, he can play the guard position, but he's more so of a tackle. This is the problem that I have with him. He needs to bulk up a little bit. 10 to 15 pounds will help him. And the reason why I say that, he was consistent at Oregon. Oregon ran a lot of short plays. He didn't have to hold up as long as other offensive linemen at the high college level. And he was getting bulldozed over at the Senior Bowl. But he was consistent in terms of his athletic movement from sideline to sideline. If he's going against a pass rush like Micah Parsons, he's going to fare out very well because he can match him with his athleticism because of his frame. In terms of power, defensive ends and power edge rushers, he's not there just yet, but he will be. And at the college level, in a couple of games, he was dominating against some of the best pass rushers in terms of just going out there and being 5-star recruits. I think that he's going to be a very good player long term, but don't rush this. At the halfway point in the season, you can roll with him. If he has a strong training camp, push him out there to be a starting tackle. But don't be surprised if he has some struggles early on. A lot of offensive linemen early in their career, they have struggles. But long term, you hope that they can develop. So you look at this offensive line now. You have Tyler at the center position, who was very good last season. They also picked him up last year in free agency. He made a hell of a difference in the middle of this offensive line. You have him. You have Laramie Tunsil. You have Josh Connerly at the right tackle position. You still have Andrew Wiley. You can move him around. He's a better pass blocker than he is a run blocker. And let's not forget, Sam Cosmi is one of the best right guards in the game. This is the problem with Sam Cosmi. He went down with a torn ACL injury against the Detroit Lions. He was not able to play against the Philadelphia Eagles in that NFC Championship game. When he can get fully healthy, this could be a top offensive line unit in the NFC. But adding in Laramie Tunsil right now, it's immediate upgrades to his offensive line, and it helps out this entire offense. I know when we look at offensive line pieces in the NFL draft and you pick them up in free agency, you may say, hey, where are the wide receivers? Where's the running back help? We need more skill position players. The foundation of every great team, historically through the NFL, they have one thing in common. They have very good or even great offensive line protection for those quarterbacks. Look at Joe Burrow many years ago against the Los Angeles Rams in that Super Bowl. He didn't have offensive line protection to help him out. And that was a key force to why they lost that matchup. You have to protect Jayden Daniels, and you don't want an RG3 situation. He almost rushed for 900 rushing yards. That's great. But you want to take care of him. This is a long-term investment here with Jayden Daniels. Keep him upright. This is a man that helped you get to the NFC Championship game for the first time in 33 years. It wasn't all on him. Give the coaches a lot of respect, Dan Quinn, and the same with Cliff Kingsbury and a new ownership group and Adder Peters for drafting him. But you need your quarterback to stay upright. So having the pieces around him up front and having those running backs are definitely going to help him out. And when Austin Eckler went out last season with that concussion, that's when you saw their offense started to stagnate a little bit. They didn't have the same run efficiency that they had when he was able to play. Even though he didn't put up big-time numbers last year, he didn't have over 1,000 yards rushing. That's fine. His mere presence on the field opens up the entire defense because they can use him as a decoy to help open up rushing lanes for Brian Robinson Jr. And you have Jeremy McNichols. Not only did you bring in Laramie Tunsil, you made a trade to bring in Deebo Samuel. Now, in the past, I have given Deebo Samuel a lot of criticism, and rightfully so in my opinion. Deebo Samuel has only had truly one great season in his career, and that came in 2021. He had 77 catches, 1,405 receiving yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. Deebo Samuel is an interesting wide receiver number 2. He's an upgrade. I like this trade for the Commanders. I don't love it. I love the Laramie Tunsil trade. I just like this trade. You're bringing in a wide receiver that doesn't have to be the number 1. He just has to be a solid number 2. Remember when I said when Austin Eckler went down with his concussion injury against the Dallas Cowboys, the run game wasn't the same? Deebo Samuel is more than just a slot wide receiver and an outside wide receiver. You could put him in the backfield as well. Kyle Shanahan used him in certain running back packages right before they made the trade to bring in Christian McCaffrey. Now, Deebo Samuel's not the biggest fan of this, but if you can use him on jet sweep patterns, get him the football in space, he can still create yards after the catch, the run after the catch in terms of him going out there and being creative with the football in his hands. He's not going to be great against man coverage, but he's a good enough veteran to work off of Terry McLaurin. I'm concerned about him being that true number 2 wide receiver on a week in and week out basis. And the reason why I say that, look at what happened with the San Francisco 49ers. When they'll bottle up Brandon Ayuk and they went into man coverage, Deebo Samuel struggled getting off the line of scrimmage. But the way that I look at Cliff Kingsbury, if he can utilize him underneath, have him go across the middle of the field, I think that's the best way to use Deebo Samuel right now is in a similar West Coast system role. You can still get a lot out of Deebo Samuel, but he's not that wide receiver that he was in 2023. He had 51 catches last season, 670 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns. And I will add in a wrinkle into this conversation. Brock Purdy is not known to go out there and run around with his legs. This is when we talk about the Jayden Daniels situation. I think that he can get the most out of Deebo Samuel right now. If Deebo Samuel was struggling at man coverage, you have your back turns against the quarterback at this point. Your linebackers do. It's so much going on in this offense, so many motion plays. Jayden Daniels can move around. If you have a spy up, they're going to bite down. They're going to try to come in. They're going to try to sack Jayden Daniels. He can make plays outside of structure. Deebo Samuel is a veteran, and we got to see this with Brock Purdy. He'll run up the field. He'll run the opposite direction. He's wide open. So when the plays break down, that's when we got to see Deebo Samuel last season, again, definitely against the Miami Dolphins. He was able to be creative with his quarterback and build that chemistry. So now look at Deebo Samuel, very good number 2 wide receiver to have alongside Terry McLaurin. We'll see how it works out on a weekly basis. I don't have to say much about Terry McLaurin. I've said this in the past. He's one of the best wide receivers in the game. He had 13 receiving touchdowns last season. That's the second most in the NFL. Every single season in his career, except for his rookie season, he's had over 1,000 yards receiving. He's phenomenal. It doesn't matter who his quarterback is. If it's Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Sam Howell, Alex Smith, whomever, he's going to go out there. He's going to ball. He has been great every single year. And this is another reason why I love Terry McLaurin. He came out at the beginning portion of the season. He wasn't getting that many targets by Jayden Daniels, but instead he's encouraging him. He's not being a diva. He came out towards ESPN and he said, it doesn't make the situation better for anyone if I go out there and complain. He'll see me if I'm open. And that's how great he is. That's the quote that he had. He's talking up his quarterback We have so many wide receivers historically, just not this generation. They go out there, they cry, they moan, and they complain about not getting the football. Get me the football, get me the targets. And Deebo Samuel has been guilty of this as well. But you come in with a veteran like that that's encouraging the quarterback and saying, hey, throw to the open man. Don't force the football to me. If I'm open, you'll see me. Give me the football when you feel comfortable. And you saw as the season progressed, the chemistry built up, especially against the Cincinnati Bengals. That's when they really took a turn for the better, that connection with Terry McLaurin. And I love to have veterans like that in the locker room if I'm running a team. He's not selfish. He's putting the team first. And it's great to see him actually work out with a franchise quarterback, because in the past, all those quarterbacks I mentioned before, and you could say the best quarterback that he played with was Alex Smith, he was still not regarded as a franchise quarterback. And he got to play with Taylor Heineke as well. Terry McLaurin is just Mr. Consistent, can run every single route, and overall, just a great guy to be around. Now, the rest of the wide receiving core, they're in a solid situation here. I mentioned Deebo Samuel. I mentioned Terry McLaurin. You have Noah Brown. Noah Brown is the infamous wide receiver that caught the Hail Mary against the Chicago Bears. He missed time last season dealing with an injury. 453 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. That 1 receiving touchdown came against the Chicago Bears. Very good number 3 wide receiver. I like the wide receiving core. And you have Luke McCaffrey. Luke McCaffrey can give you a lot of problems. I will say this right now. Hopefully he does pan out. And yes, he's the brother of Christian McCaffrey. He was a very good wide receiver coming out of college. They gave him so much his rookie season, it was hard for him to go out there and find time on the field. If they can carve out a role for him to be this possession wide receiver, you could be cooking with something here. He reminded me a lot of Cooper Kupp coming out of college, and I'm not saying that he's going to be the next Cooper Kupp, but be patient with him and give him some more snaps for this upcoming season. You have depth at this wide receiving position, and you have drafted Jalen Lane with the 128th pick, wide receiver from Virginia Tech. 466 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns his last season at Tech. He can come in, and he can be a very good number 3, number 4 wide receiver. Don't rush this. That's why you have those veterans in place, so you can develop those wide receivers on the back end. And you still have Zach Ertz holding things down. Zach Ertz refuses to age, apparently. Zach Ertz is 34 years old. He'll be 35 in November. He had 654 receiving yards last season, 7 receiving touchdowns. At a certain point in time, we have to have a conversation about certain tight ends. And the same with Travis Kelce. These tight ends don't run the same. They don't have the same speed that they once had, but they're always open. And they have big catch radius. When I look at him, so many games down the stretch, he was just Mr. Reliable in that game against the Steelers, to where he's just open across the middle of the field. And he does have that blazing speed. Now, he's not super slow. He's still able to go out there and have wiggle to his game. But I'm talking about Zach Ertz when he was in his prime with the Philadelphia Eagles. This man has seen so many different looks. When you're in zone coverage, he just runs around, sits in the soft spot of the defense, wide open. And he can create yards after the catch with his sprint. So it's still very good to have a veteran for sure-handed tight end. And I wanted to bring this up as well. A lot of that is because of his time that he spent with the Arizona Cardinals from when Cliff Kingsbury was his head coach. So overall, the offense, I'm expecting for them to take another step forward next season. And I've had some questions about this in the past about the Washington Commanders. Have I forgotten about the team? No, I just had to go back and watch a couple of games. This is the biggest question. Will Jayden Daniels have a sophomore slump? I don't believe that'll be the case in my opinion. You have veterans like Zach Ertz, like Terry McLaurin, like Deebo Samuel, and Laramie Tunsil. And the one thing the Commanders have done a great job of, they load this team up with veteran talent that can still play and give you good production. When you look at CJ last year, the Houston Texans offensive line let him down. Outside of Laramie Tunsil, they didn't have the right veterans on the outside. It comes down to this. Most quarterbacks that have a sophomore slump, they don't have the skill set like Jayden Daniels. Let's just say defenses figure him out. It's this notion that a lot of fans come out and say, well, they get more film on him. He gets more film on other teams as well. And he gets a full offseason in year number 2 to work with the coaching staff and to work on things that he was lacking in his first year. He has a skill set. Let's just say the passing concepts, they get dry and the league figures him out. He can still use his legs to take him over the top. That's why when you have a quarterback like this, it's so exciting long term. Similar with RG3. Even though his arm wasn't the greatest, he could go out there and beat you with his legs. And I look at Jayden Daniels. He's already one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. That athleticism will take him to the next level. I don't expect for him to have a sophomore slump. He's going to be in a great situation long term with this team. And the culture is better with Dan Snyder selling this team. Now, as far as the defense here, I have a lot of gripes with this defense. Not pass defensing wise, more so rush defensing wise. You would have thought for a team that went all the way to the NFC Championship game, they would have had a top rushing defense and a top passing defense. That was not the case. They were terrible against the run. They were 30th in rushing defense. Now, Dan Quinn, phenomenal head coach. He helped turn his organization around. He helped the Atlanta Falcons get to the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. That's an infamous game, 28-3. The one problem that I have with all his defenses, they don't prioritize stopping the run. They prioritize getting to the quarterback on a consistent basis, which inflates the numbers with their passing defense. His passing concepts on the back end, they're very good. This is a problem that he had with the Dallas Cowboys. You have to focus on stopping the run. Your biggest competition right now in this division is the Philadelphia Eagles and Saquon Barkley. You have to go out there and you have to stop the run on a consistent basis. You don't have to have the number one rushing defense, but you have to account for the run. And they have very good defensive playmakers up front. You have Johnny Newton, who I'm very high on. Last season, he was playing with a lot of injuries, and he did have the offsides moment against the Steelers. That doesn't mean that he's a bad player. It's the reason why you drafted him. He's a very good football player, high instincts, and I think he's going to be a great tackle long term. And you have Daron Payne. Daron Payne is known for getting to the quarterback, stopping the run. You're bringing in Javon Kinlaw. So now you have an interior rusher defensive lineman. They're all good at stopping the run. They shall prioritize that. When they went against power backs like Najee Harris, they were able to go out there and contain him with the speed that they have in their front seven. When they went against elusive running backs, that was a different problem. So let's just say they go against running backs like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon. You're going to be in a whole heap of trouble. They can bounce out to the outside. It was no outside containment. And we've seen this before with Dan Quinn. He has to bring that over this year. Just go out there and account for the run. They could be middle of the pack in terms of stopping the run because they're so strong in their secondary. But as long as he does that, the defense will get better. But it really pissed me off last season to see Saquon just go out there over and over again, run the football, beat him, run the football, beat him. And the same in the NFC Championship game. And I do want to talk about that game for a couple of seconds here. The score was bad. It came down to turnovers by Austin Eckler and by other wide receivers. The game was really closer than what it was, than what the scoreboard showed. Jayden Daniels was putting them in situations over and over again. The turnovers just hurt them. So if you can go out there and continue to take care of the football and just account for the run, the Commanders could possibly be back in the NFC Championship game for this upcoming year. Now, I talked about the defensive tackles that they have. You have Cleveland Farrell, also a very good run stopper. Dorrance Armstrong, very good run stopper, can get to the passer as well. That's what he's known for doing. You lost Dante Fowler. Now, this is controversial here. He had 10.5 sacks last season. I look at him at this stage of his career, he's a good player, but he's more so of a rotational defensive pass rusher that fits into a scheme. He's a scheme guy. He can go out there and win plays on his own, but it's a scheme to it. They basically didn't want to go out there. They didn't re-sign him. The Dallas Cowboys, they got him. They're going to miss him early on. They're going to need a guy on the outside to replicate that success. Now, Frankie Louvu is a do-it-all linebacker in terms of coverage, guarding tight ends across the middle of the field, stopping running backs, and just getting to the quarterback. 8 sacks last season, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, 54 solo tackles. And if you want to make the case, well, he's a system linebacker, not quite. He was a very good linebacker for many years with the Carolina Panthers. He may be your best pass rusher right now, and he may be your best defender in terms of just doing everything in the front seven. I'm concerned about their pass rush on a consistent basis, but once again, it's Dan Quinn. Everywhere he's been, he's found a way to scheme up pass rush. You still have Bobby Wagner at the middle linebacker position. He's getting older, but he's still a very good linebacker to have. And you have Dominique Hampton. Dominique Hampton is 24 years old. We'll see what he can give you next year. He's subject to be a starter. We'll see how things work out with him as an edge rusher / linebacker. So the front seven, I like the talent that they have overall, and I like their depth pieces with Dedrick Wise Jr., Eddie Goldman, and Jacob Martin. As far as the secondary, at the trade deadline, they made a trade to bring in Marshawn Lattimore. They traded a mid-round pick to bring him in. Marshawn Lattimore is definitely not the same cornerback that he was 2 years ago with the Saints due to those injuries, but he is still one of the best press man cornerbacks you can have in the NFL. You need to have a veteran on the outside. Remember when they drafted Emmanuel Forbes and this coaching staff didn't? When Ron Rivera and those guys went out there and they drafted Emmanuel Forbes, yeah, he's no longer on this roster because he was a bust. If he was able to go out there and pan out, they would have never traded for Marshawn Lattimore. So bringing in Marshawn Lattimore, if he can give you 80 to 90% of the snaps played for this upcoming season, it'll be an A-plus trade. You need him in this division to slow down wide receivers like George Pickens on the outside. The same with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and with Malik Neighbors. He's not going to be a slot cornerback. That's not his game. That's what Mike Sainristil is for. And I do think that Mike Sainristil is going to be amazing if he can lock things down inside the slot long term. Had a very good rookie season last season. But having him on the outside to take away pieces like A.J. Brown is definitely going to go out long term. And no one is expected for Marshawn Lattimore to go out there on a consistent basis and hold wide receivers to just under 50 yards. You're going to get some big plays over the top. But as long as he can limit those big plays, it'll be a great situation. Now you have Mike Sainristil entering year number 2. Mike Sainristil will go against players like CeeDee Lamb. He'll go against players like Devontae Smith, more than likely, and the same with Malik Neighbors. Those wide receivers that will play inside the slot, but they can play on the outside. Those are the type of wide receivers he'll be going against. They need him to be locked down this season. And last year, he had a strong year as a rookie. And they did draft Trey Amos with the 61st pick. He had 3 interceptions, 13 pass deflections. That was the 7th most in the nation. A very good press man corner coming over from Ole Miss. So you're strengthening the strength here. While they had the 30th ranked rushing defense in the NFL, they had the 3rd best passing defense. And you need that in this division for so many reasons. Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, they want to throw the football around the field. Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles, say what you want to say about Jalen Hurts. He has a deep ball on him. And he can get the football to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and to Dallas Goedert. So you have to have those cornerbacks in place here. And the fact that you already had a top passing defense last season, it should get better for this upcoming year. So overall, this was a great offseason for the Washington Commanders by adding in veterans. It's not one of those situations they went out there in free agency and they said, give us the best free agent available. They went out there and they made the right trades and they brought in the right names to help propel this organization forward. By getting Laramie Tunsil, that's my favorite pickup. Getting Deebo Samuel, if it doesn't work out, he's on a 1-year deal. You let him go. You don't bring him back. Marshawn Lattimore doesn't work out, you can let him go sooner than later. So these deals are cheap and they're not long term. And you still have draft picks that you could play with for the foreseeable future. And the fact that you did not give up a 1st round pick to bring in a premier tackle and Laramie Tunsil is a slam dunk for a man like Adam Peters, who has been a great general manager so far. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about the Washington Commanders long term in the NFC East division? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.